the meeting. And do we need to take roll call?
Not until we have a possible quorum.
Okay, so the first thing we would do is just go to flood management and emergency planning. Okay, and I take it they are on.
There's Jason right there.
Hi, nice to see you. I didn't even see you there. Go ahead and present, and we will go forward.
Well, thank you for inviting us. Mr. Johnson is unfortunately unavailable, so you are stuck with me. I'm Jason Campbell. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. And again, thank you for the invite to go ahead.
Oh, excuse me, Jason. Should we go ahead and introduce ourselves so you know who he's talking to?
So yeah,
I think that's a good idea. So I'm Laura Nickerson. I'm the new chair of the Sacramento Environmental Commission, and I'm a retired registered nurse. But my passion is also wildlife rescue and rehab. So that's where my niche is. So go ahead, Richard.
Hi, I'm Richard Hunt, representing Sacramento County, and I'm a retired firm consultant.
I'm Tony DeRigi, representing the city of Sacramento and retired physician.
I'm Mark White. I was a consultant in the garbage industry, appointee of the county, and I was retired, but I think I'm no longer.
Good afternoon. My name is Jania Monasterio, and I'm the director for the environmental management team.
I'm Tom Malson. I represent the cities of Folsom, Ileton, and Galt. I'm currently retired from Aerogen Engineer.
Okay. Start to share here.
it's Kayla. She's attending as a member of the public, so we're okay for now.
Okay. So if you're not familiar with the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency, SAFECA is a joint powers authority between the counties of Sacramento and Sutter, as well as the city of Sacramento. And then, of course, we have Reclamation District 1000, which encompasses Natomas, as well as the American River Flood Control District. So that makes up our JPA, 5 members. I did say Sutter County, didn't I? So our 5 members we have a 13-person board made up of all 5 board of supervisors, 3 council members from the city of Sacramento, and then 2 from each one of the reclamation districts, and the 1 member from Sutter County. So happy to be here today. We have presented this similar presentation, and as I said in the beginning, Mr. Johnson was here in 2019. He's our executive director, still going strong. We have a number of projects going on, of course, and in the very interesting weather year that we're having, we are happy to be presenting and sharing the successes that SAFECA has been able to accomplish, along with our partners, as well as the rest of the community. So what you see here is the Folsom Dam Joint Federal Project. So on the left, where the water is flowing down, you'll see a little bit more of this in just a few minutes. That is the new Joint Federal Project that allows us to actually really increase flows during storm events to be able to evacuate water from the Folsom Lake during an anticipated flood or high water event. And then, of course, you have the historic, up to the right corner there, the historic and existing Folsom Dam. All of the Folsom Dam components, with the exception of the new Joint Federal Project, are being raised currently. In just a second here. So, hopefully, this will advance. Oh, there we go. So again, when we talk about Sacramento, I think we talk about historic floods. You may have seen these many times, of course. K Street in the year 1800s. Big issues. Leland Stanford was the governor at the time, and for his inaugural address, the story is that he was lowered into a rowboat so that he can go to his inauguration and give a speech. So again, we have quite the history with flood, with having 2 rivers, and the wonderful Sierra Nevadas provide us a great reservoir of water, but it usually comes in the form of snow. But unfortunately, no, please. Unfortunately, sometimes that snow comes down a little too fast on us. So we want to make sure that we're not having these types of events in the future. So that's what SAFECA is all about. So as we move forward, there were 2 significant events that really created the formation of the Sacramento Area Flood Control Agency. Those events are the 1986 flood, but also there was an item that came through with the federal government, and local cost share or non-federal cost share became a component of federal projects. So in 86, those two events kind of started to build up and make sure that the local community was going to be prepared for trying to deal with any kind of flood improvements over the course of many decades. Those local cost share requirements are important because otherwise the federal government does not necessarily want to participate in all of what or any type of other infrastructure components associated with it. So as we move forward, we can see the Sacramento River is a very large flood control system associated with it. The tributaries, including the American River, include a number of components. It is at the confluence we have the Sacramento Weir and the Sacramento bypass, but these rivers, of course, are creating what we consider to be and what the federal government considers to be one of the most at risk or the most at risk community in the United States from riverine flooding. So that's kind of hard to imagine when we see the amount of flooding and other activities that happen in the Midwest on the other rivers, Mississippi, the Ohio, the Tennessee. But again, we've been fortunate where our events haven't been as catastrophic as they could have been. But again, we do have deep flooding. The water in many areas could be as deep as 25 to 30 feet. And again, we also have very cold water and damageable areas. We have about $70 billion worth of damageable property within the region. So as we talk about the high level of protection that we are trying to achieve, it all starts with Folsom Dam. And Folsom Dam was completed in the 1950s. The levee work that is associated with our rivers was completed about the same time. There was a number of standards that were in place at the time. And when we talk about that, we talk about the standard project flood, which reflects really what they anticipated, they being the federal government and the engineers at the time, to what they anticipated the biggest flood that we would see would be. And today we equate that to about a 300 to 500 year level event. And at the time when Katrina happened, Sacramento was sitting at about a 50 to 65 year level of protection. And what this represents is before Katrina, New Orleans thought they were at about a 250 year level of protection. So that gives you a bit of an indication as to where we are and where Katrina was and maybe how fortunate we have been. But the nice thing is we've been busy. So getting back to the items that create our impact of flood damage and the anticipated ideas of what a standard project flood was. This is the unimpeded flow that was on the American River since it was started to be reported in the early 1900s. So as you look at the flows, these peaks are different flows on the river itself. And that red line on this identifies what the standard project flood was based on for the Folsom Dam when it was constructed. So you could see the peaks to the left of this are what the basis of design was for the Folsom Dam. And then the peaks to the right are the big peaks that we have had since Folsom has been constructed. So we now understand that our risk is not necessarily fixed based on a specific model, but we have to make sure that we have an idea of what flood could look like and how big the storms could be going forward. So there have been three major changes in the urban levee standards and a few other things, because this is what we're working on. So again, we're working on making sure flows and changes in the weather, but also the changes in the standards of what our levees are made of and how they're constructed and how they perform are things that we have to take into consideration. So this is the second of two major things that changed for us. But again, there are three components to the levee systems that we try to take into consideration. So again, we have seepage, or water is traveling through levees from the river and onto the dry land side. We have levee slope stability, where some of the slopes on these levees may fail and cause problems for us. And we also have bank and levee erosion that I think are things that we don't necessarily think about too much, but we should be, because sometimes those banks disappear on us. And there's a couple of examples here in 1986. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner there, that's right at Campus Commons. And the water was high enough that during the event, that erosion that was occurring in the levee system was not known because it was not visible. It was underwater. So when the water receded and the flows from Folsom went down, it was probably a situation where the city may have needed to, or that area may have needed to be evacuated. But again, these are the three main components on the levee systems, which are two of the major changes that we've seen since the systems were originally constructed. But as we move forward, we have learned quite a bit more. Of course, Katrina helped us in a few different ways. In some ways, obviously a major catastrophic event, but after Katrina, 100 levee failures were studied by the Corps of Engineers and other engineering firms, and discussions took place where they identified that 80% of the failures were actually through seepage and under seepage. So water traveling through and taking material with it through the levee, and water traveling under and taking material with it so that the levee would collapse and fail. So this resulted in those new standards that we are now constructing to. So again, going back, our levees were originally built from sand, and they were dredged from the existing rivers, Sacramento, as well as some of the material in the American. So they were either brought in using barge, steam-driven barge, and ships that basically were just drag line sand, and they were excavating and putting into the levee segment, or these suction dredges, which you see up on the right and left, bottom and right, top right corner, sorry, where hydraulically the water was pushed through pipes, and then holes in the bottom of the pipe would let the sand and other material fall out, and then that would become the levee. In the picture up on the right, you can actually see how it's been excavated out. The water is traveling through the pipe, and you can see the water on the end. The sand is falling out, and that's how they're filling up the levee segment. So just gives you an indication as to what we're really doing. So again, blank page. As we move into the components of what happens during a flood event, you can see that the seepage here is represented by these horseshoes of sandbags and material that is being collected, water being collected, so that these could be identified as these boils start to form. The idea is that you want to make sure that material isn't going with it. So they put these sandbags up. If we had a little bit better picture, a little closer view, you can see the one that's to the right of the circle in the middle. The water sitting there and it's clear. It means that that boil, that seepage is not creating material coming through. So that one's okay. The one to the left in the bottom corner there, there's material moving. So this is an event that was taking place in, I believe, 97. And the issue was that boil was needing to be addressed. So these are the types of things that take place when we talk about seepage and under seepage, because the clay on the surface of those levees is just holding the sand in place in some instances. So we now have a number of different activities that we're doing with the Corps of Engineers and the State Department of Water Resources, along with the Central Valley Flood Protection Board, to make sure that we're trying to protect against these things. So this is an example of something that was going on in 2017. This is RD 1001, just on the north end of Natomas, across the Cross Canal. So RD 1001 had boils and seepage that was occurring during that period of time. And what they're doing here is they're putting fabric down and putting rock just to kind of keep the mass and everything in place so that the levee system will stay intact. Fortunately, nothing major happened here, but a couple things that we like to show here is that you need room to be able to manage and deal with the problems when they occur. And again, when you get really close to the levee, sometimes it's not as simple to maneuver and take care of emergency operations like moving material in to be able to fix the levee, or just having simple access for visual evaluation during a flood event. So just a number of things here. So I'm trying to build up to what our program is. So unfortunately, this picture is not good. I don't know what happened here. So what you're not seeing is, or not very clearly, this is actual seepage in the pocket area in 2017. This is about 1,000 feet from the levee system. This is about 14 days after it had rained. So what you're seeing, and sprinklers weren't on or anything like that, this is actually water seeping through the ground, through the levee system, and up in people's yards. And weeping into the curb and gutter and places. So these are the things that we're up against, of course. So as we also talk about slope stability, so some of these levees, the sandy slopes don't stick very well. This is on one of the islands. Tyler Island was evacuated during this 2017 event. And this is an example of where the landside levee just got saturated and just fell off. So we're constantly working on these types of issues as we're moving forward with our projects. And then again, I apologize for these pictures not translating very well through the system here. But again, we remind folks that sometimes it's just like what you see on the highways, these slopes, if they get too steep, material gets wet, it starts to come down. The same thing happens with our levee systems, unfortunately. If those slopes are too steep for the levees, the material may fall away and become a problem for the system it's trying to protect. Then, of course, again, we talked about the levee erosion. This again was the 1986 event that caught us a little bit off guard, but really kind of tells a story that is causing us to spend billions of dollars, I think, along with the programs. As we talk about the American River and the flows that go down the American River, this is the hydraulic mining, of course, that took place in Sierras. And what happened is we have a tremendous amount of material, the tailings from this hydraulic mining coming down for a very long period of time. And that is what had traditionally been in the bed of the river. So when the levee systems were built, they were built so that the river was narrow enough because they wanted to keep the velocities up so that those tailings would continue to flow down the river. Otherwise, they would settle out, kind of like with those hydraulic suction dredges. That's the same concept. Is they wanted to move that material down so that the levees were put a little bit close together. So when we look at the American River, what you'll see in a few minutes here is that we are actually pushing the water down the American River at much higher velocities and everything else. So this erosion discussion comes much more into play because the original efforts to put the levees close together was to manage this hydraulic mining tailings. So as we talk about the American River, the two pictures here on the left, obviously 1968, you can see on the furthest left side, there's a tremendous amount of vegetation, there's bars, there are a few other things there. And then on the right side, you can also see that there are trails on the top and the bottom of the water side of the levee. So those two light lines coming down on the side with the houses. And then in 1986, you could see that most of the vegetation on the left side of the picture of the 86 photo, gone. The sandbar is gone. And you can see, again, we're showing the erosion that took place and all of the bank and the pathways and the vegetation had disappeared after the 1986 event. So you can see the dilemma we have here, trying to make sure that the velocities are going fast enough down the American River, but at the same time, trying to make sure that the levees stay intact so that we can protect. So Safeca system is built around the Folsom Dam, and it's the main reservoir for us on the American River and the main point of flood protection for the community. We have 106 miles of levees and channels throughout the Sacramento area. You can see Natomas is a complete ring levee. It's a giant bathtub. The American River and some of the tributaries coming into the American River prior to the confluence with the Sacramento River. Lots of levee systems, lots of effort has gone in to make sure that all of these levees are able to perform, also to provide and pass the components necessary to get FEMA mapping redone and to make sure that we meet the 200-year level of protection with the state of California. So a number of things at play here. We also have the Yolo bypass on the far left. The Yolo bypass is, along with Folsom, the Yolo bypass is our saving grace. It allows almost 500,000 cubic feet per second since it's a basketball night. Cubic foot is roughly the size of a basketball. So if you can imagine every second, 500,000 basketballs rolling by. That's what we're seeing happen in the yellow bypass when it's in full mode. So it's also the yellow bypasses, the water allows the Sacramento River relief comes at the Fremont Weir, which is up on the left corner of that map. So it's a fixed weir, the water just pours right over and goes into the bypass, and we get to see the water there for about a week. So Safeco has six, well, Safeco and the state and the Army Corps of Engineers, of course. We have 6 authorized projects. All 6 projects are funded and active. We have a little bit of.
Here we go.
So we have 6 active projects. Some of them are approaching completion. The Folsom Dam has actually 3 projects associated with it. They're all part of the same authorization. But as you can see, we are full steam ahead on getting all of our projects moving and keeping them going. Our responsibilities are to make sure that the Corps of Engineers has the lands, the easements, the rights of way, and of course our cost share so they can continue to build their projects. So currently you can see the authorizations for those 6 projects equate to $5.2 billion worth of work. The Corps of Engineers is responsible for $3.4 billion of that. The state and Safeco are responsible for about $1.8 billion overall. And those are old numbers because escalation and inflation impacts all of those things. And we're constantly working with our federal partners and our congressional members and others to make sure that we're keeping projects funded. So I talked a little bit about cost share earlier. So the federal government provides on these authorized projects about 65% of the overall cost. The state of California provides 24.5%, and Safeco with local dollars provides 10.5%. So ultimately, some of you who live in the Sacramento area and our regions may have a couple of assessments on your books. When you see your property tax bill, we're fully funded through those property assessments. We don't get any other supplemental funding for our cost share. It is truly just from those property aspects, as well as we have a development impact fee that covers those costs as well. So the way those federal authorizations and those fundings come in, it's not on they don't just fund the entire project when they authorize it. We have to go and seek the appropriations. In some instances, we've been very fortunate to take advantage and work with our partners. You can see that in fiscal year 18, that is the federal fiscal year, the Corps of Engineers received $1.7 billion for an authorization for our Common Features 2016 project. The one that really covers our American River erosion, it covers additional slurry wall work on the American River, Sacramento River erosion, widening the Sacramento Weir, bypass, as well as a number of mitigation efforts, vegetation and bank protection on the American. It's just a tremendous, great opportunity for us to get a project fully funded, $1.8 billion all at once. So we're moving full steam ahead. You'll also see that in fiscal years all the way down, we had increased our annual appropriations from the federal government. As you go up that list from 2015 up, you see those numbers just keep ratcheting up. We've been funded. I would say we've been receiving the most federal funds for civil works projects through the Corps of Engineers since 2015. It's really incredible. It's a great opportunity, and we have to give our congressional member, Matsui, a lot of regard, as well as Garamendi and other congressional members and our state senators for being able to make sure these things come forward. So we're rebuilding the system, rebuilding the levee system. Pictures here are primarily Natomas up on the left. You can see the Sacramento River up in the top of that picture. There are ramps and other things that need to occur. So we work with the federal government and the property owners and state to make sure that all of these things come together. And you can see there are a number of different activities that take place. You can see the bottom right-hand corner is a little bit different. It looks like something like a crane almost. And what that is it's a seepage cutoff wall machine. Basically, it's a drilling rig that will drill down into the levee up to 130 feet deep, and it'll provide a slurry system, which is made primarily of bentonite and soil, some instances a bit of cement. And basically it's to stop the seepage of the water going through the levee and taking material with it. So it's slowing it down so that we can keep these levees intact. So a number of different types of activities. The bottom right corner on that slide is a long stick excavator. They might go as deep as 80 feet after they might degrade the levee, bring the top of the levee down so they can reach down deeper with this excavator. And they actually just it's like playing in the mud with the excavator. They will mix it up. And again, different type of method, but same type of effort to protect the system from having that seepage in their seepage. Again, we also talked a little bit about the flattening of slopes. Many of the slopes that were created from the original levees were too steep. So as we go through these processes, we're increasing the ability for it to protect against that erosion from the seepage, as well as the sloughing off of the slopes, the soil. And again, the erosion. And one of the big discussions we have about erosion, the first thing Mr. White asked me today was about vegetation on the levees. And so you could see in the top, shortly after that levee system was protected for the erosion with the rock, it was then also replanted. Soil went over the rock. It was replanted. And you can see over the years that segment of the levee pretty well vegetated. And this is the practice that we are continuing forward with on all of the Sacramento and the American. So again, I mentioned the Sacramento bypass. The Sacramento bypass is intended to allow flows from the Folsom Dam down the American River and then make that connection so that the flows on the Sacramento River remain the same. And I'll show you a little bit more about that. It's a little confusing, but there's a portion of the Sacramento River in a high water event where there's flows coming down the American, it'll actually flow backwards. So it's kind of an interesting thing on that confluence. The water, if the water level gets high enough on the American, it will push up into the Sacramento bypass. And once those gates are opened, it will flow out into the yellow bypass. The interesting part is we're widening this. We're actually going to double that in the next year. It's going to get started. The bids were just awarded. Actually, the bids just were open. Hopefully they will be awarded for the widening of the Sacramento River pretty quick. And this is kind of the explanation as to what I was just describing. So as we have the Folsom Dam, with the Folsom Dam, we now have 115,000 cubic feet per second of basketballs rolling down the American River. That's our current level of flow that we are anticipating. But with our new Folsom Dam and our new work that we're doing on the American River, that number is going to go up to 160,000 cubic feet per second going down the American River. And in order to get that water out into the yellow bypass, rather than try to push it down the lower portions of the Sacramento downstream on the Sacramento River, we have to widen the Sacramento bypass. So as you can see, the little red numbers are hard to read from where you're sitting, but the Sacramento bypass currently is about 112,000 cubic feet per second. When we're done, it's going to be about 157,000 cubic feet per second. So ultimately, we're just trying to make sure that that bottom arrow there where the Sacramento River is flowing, those flows stay the same. So again, the flows coming down on the Sacramento are right around 110,000 constantly. Once it gets past the confluence of the American River, we want it to continue to be 110,000 constantly. So when we push more water down the American, it has to go out the Sacramento. So it's kind of a weird concept when the Sacramento River for that small segment flows backwards, but it certainly makes it a whole lot better for the rest of the folks down in the pocket area and beyond. So again, this is a little bit of what we're working on. So the existing green on the left side is the existing Sacramento bypass. That's an operated gate. We see on the news when they get flows high enough, the Sacramento group over for the DWR maintenance office will go out and pull those gates when it gets to a certain level. The new weir, which is going to be going in, it's about 1,500 feet long. It's a fixed weir, so no operable gates. Water levels will rise to a certain elevation, and then it'll just spill and go on out into the yellow bypass. Included in the project is a very large fish passage, and so this was part of the design was to create so we can get rid of fish entrapments and other things associated with green sturgeon or other salmonids and other types of fish that are, of course, near and dear to the community and our hearts as far as making sure that the fish population stays intact. So in addition, there is a widening that's taking place of the levee system, not only on the Sacramento bypass here, but up on that corner right, there is a widening of the Yolo bypass that's occurring. So as we take a look here, this is what is called the Lower Elkhorn Basin levee setback. The state is performing this work, and it is called the Levels Project, just because it's a big mouthful. But ultimately, the widening of the bypass by about 1,000 feet. The issue we had was Safeco had to go in and we had to relocate a landfill that was in the Sacramento bypass. It was an old burn pit landfill, and we called the Bright landfill. So we worked with the state of California to relocate that landfill, and up we can see the relocated landfill is in what's now called a corrective active management unit. So Safeco is now owner of a relocated landfill. We're going to turn that into a corporation yard for the reclamation district that will be maintaining those levees. So again, the Sacramento bypass levee is going to take that turn, and then that new yellow bypass levee is being constructed by the state of California. Again, all under the auspices of getting more water out to the yellow bypass and then mitigating those impacts in the yellow bypass for that additional flow. So I mentioned earlier, Folsom is our first line of defense, of course, from the runoff on the American River from the Sierras. So we did have the new dam and spillway, as I mentioned earlier. We're also raising all the dams and dikes around Folsom by 3.5 feet. So that will create a little bit more flood storage space. And this again is the new joint federal project, the new dam and spillway, which has the gates all operational. I know that there was a little bit of news not too long ago, somebody was saying something was wrong with the gates. No, the Corps of Engineers had a construction defect that was on the coatings of the rods, the hydraulic cylinder rods. And the coating wasn't going to live its life expectancy. So there's a little bit of work that's going on that was just awarded to make sure that the coatings on those rods will be replaced. $16 million the Corps of Engineers is paying for that to occur. But these gates are all operational, and they will be operational with the exception of one gate at a time each year will come out of service so they can replace those rods. But ultimately, tremendous amount of water can flow. Well over 200,000 cubic feet per second come out of Folsom between all the gates. We probably won't ever have to get to that, let's hope. But again, there's quite a bit of capacity and redundancy built into the system. And when that project was constructed, the discussion was how much concrete went in there. So we always like to throw this one out there, 29,100 concrete trucks. We lined them up from San Francisco to Reno. Be solid concrete trucks. So kind of interesting, nice little fun thing, but moving on. So the purpose of that new dam spillway was that we needed to lower the gates 50 feet. The idea is that if you wait too long, if you wait for Folsom to fill up, you can't get the water out of Folsom fast enough to create space for a flood. So we have big flows coming in, we need to release early, and we'll need to have a whole different works to make that happen. So these new gates went in 50 feet below the original dam gates and other infrastructure there. And what that does, this comes through all the way. Well, we have what's called a water control manual that's being that provides us the instructions on how to operate the facility. So basically, the water control manual gives us ideas as to how much water is coming into Folsom and how much needs to go out based on snow melts, precipitation, and also expected weather. So we do a weather forecast. Well, we don't, but NOAA does a weather forecast, and they communicate with Bureau of Reclamation and a number of other individuals so that we can help identify how much water, how much space needs to remain in Folsom so that we don't flood. So this is a very interesting process. So before the Folsom modifications are done for the joint federal project and that new spillway, every year when we got to December, they would evacuate a bunch of water. They would bring the levels down and they'd take it down to almost 67% empty. And then there is this variable space that you're talking about. So if we look at the red areas, that's what the old model is. If we're trying to talk about flows here. So Folsom has about 1 million acre feet of capacity. We would take it down to about 670,000 acre feet down if it was going to be a big year. And then we would hope it would fill back up. It was a model for decades. The new diagram allows this variable space to get managed a little bit differently based on forecasts and other efforts. And basically what happens is it allows the operators of the facility to hold on to the water a little bit longer and make judgment calls on how much they could fill and how early they can. So I'll get a little bit more into that here. Hoping I'm not confusing you all, but so along with that diagram, the federal government has instituted a whole bunch of support associated with what we're seeing as these different new storm events. We're hearing about atmospheric rivers and bomb cyclones and all these other different things. But of course, atmospheric rivers are a big deal for us. So the federal government now has what they call the hurricane hunters that you see on the East Coast. They now come out to the West Coast and they provide the reconnaissance program to help us do our forecasting for reservoir operations. So these operations are underway with our new water control diagrams, and there's a number of cooperations and other entities involved, of course, that help us bring this forward going into the storm season. So these atmospheric rivers, on average, we're anticipating they carry roughly 25 times the amount of water vapor and water that are in the Mississippi River. So we have a number of meteorologists and scholars that are very in tune to this right now, and it's quite interesting. I have to say, we were at an event not too long ago, and the forecast for this year was a dry year. It was a La Nina year, and the expert that was at the event giving his presentation on these atmospheric rivers also said, well, we got surprised. We would have never predicted this. And that's like with any of our predictions, but there was a volcano eruption in Tonga in January of 22 that put more water vapor in the stratosphere than they had ever seen. So there's some speculation that may be the cause of our atmospheric rivers this year. So it's kind of an interesting dialogue and discussion, but it also kind of supports the fact that we need robust flood protection because predictions are even sometimes a little scary that things could be coming our way. And something like a volcano erupting halfway around the planet might cause it. I don't know if it's the butterfly effect or what. Anyway, sorry for the digression there. We have a number of these atmospheric rivers that come. We're seeing it this year. So I think everybody's probably been paying attention to that. So I don't want to talk about that too much more. But this is what they look like. And we just have to understand that this is the goal that we're trying to protect the community against these efforts. So we are continuing with the 500-year level of protection. We have these partners with our friends doing the storm hunting and whatnot and helping with the predictions of the weather. No matter how flawed the systems may be, any good information that we can keep building upon helps us. So again, NOAA and these others help us create these plans for us to manage these reservoirs and these other operations. So again, Folsom Dam is being raised by 3.5 feet. There are a number of dikes. We have the main dam. We have the left and right wing dams. All the structures are being raised. We're about 40% through that process with the Corps of Engineers currently. Along with that, you can see the original gates on the original dam. You see that little bit of light across the top. That light is probably about 8 feet. So what's happening is we're putting top seals on those gates so that the reservoir in a severe weather event, if need be, there's more space above those gates so that we can hold more water longer. Just anything we need to do to protect community below. So the idea here is that by sealing those gates, you don't create a dam safety issue where water is falling over the gates or on the backside of the structures and creating problems. So that's just a portion of this that we'd like to go ahead and share with everybody, that we want to make sure that these systems are robust, again, above and beyond what you might expect through the normal weather that's being predicted. So this kind of talks about where we're at. So construction contracts, like I said, there's a tremendous number of contracts out there going on currently. Every aspect of our system is under construction for those authorized projects. We're touching each and every one of those. You can see most of the construction is either underway, complete. We have a few that the awards are happening now. We're really looking forward to getting all these projects done. So once we're all said and done, we believe that we will easily, with the projects we have in place currently, moving forward currently, we believe we will have over 300-year level of protection under the current standards for that level of protection based on the current water guidelines and manuals. But this is the thing that I wanted to kind of share a little bit about in regards to our weather and whatnot. So for the current year, we've had some pretty decent flows. We all know that we've had some good weather. Hopefully got us out of the drought completely for a while. But again, the peak stage on the Sacramento was not, we didn't get to flood stage in March. We barely squeaked into monitor stage as you go across there. So you can see this, the peak stage of the storms this year on the Sacramento was 27 and the other was 28 feet of elevation at the High Street Bridge. The channel capacities, you can see where peak flows in the storms were about 79,000 to 83,000. So again, we cap out about 110,000 is what's, the big peaks. And then on the lower American, you can see the two storms. Ultimately, the peak releases from storms coming out of the Nimbus were just, pretty small compared to what we could do. As we take a look a little bit here, and I apologize, this is typical, but if you just look at the peak inflows between the two on the top, that's the two storms that we've had recently, the 106,000 cubic feet per second going into Folsom in the December-January timeline, and then the February-March storms, max inflow was about 44,000 cubic feet per second. Really not a whole lot for us, right? The December-January storms of 1996-97, the peak inflows are 209,000 cubic feet per second. That's just a good indicator. 97 was a big deal. 86 was actually bigger, but all of these storms that we've just recently experienced were just moderate. I mean, we really got to keep our eye on the ball with these big storms. So Rick likes to show this. He loves the Joint Federal Project. This is about 20,000 cubic feet per second flowing out of the Joint Federal Project. Still, that's not a lot of water in the grand scheme. It's a lot of water. It's not a lot of water for the flows. If you can imagine, we can go up to 160,000 down that spillway if need be. So just rolling along here, I know I'm taking a bit of time, I apologize. So as we get to our forecast informed programs, as we start to take a look at, oh, apologies, as we start to take a look at this flood pool. So when we get to the top of that gray box, the Bureau of Reclamation is trying to balance. They're trying to figure out, where are we at on the calendar? How much room do we have? We've got a huge snowpack. We've got to maybe make some room, right? So this is a great example. This is the first real example that we've, I think, been able to share since we started these operations. But if you follow that red line, that looks like the image that I was just showing you. And you can see right in the middle where all the blue and the red start to mix together. So the Bureau of Reclamation took it down to the top of that gray box on the previous slide. Here, I'll just go back. They took it to the top of that gray box in that variable space. And you can see it following along. And then we get to those storms right around New Year, actually. It's New Year's. You can see they started to dig a little hole in that red line, just a little dip down. They were releasing water in anticipation of more forecasted flows based on the snowpack, based on the temperatures, based on what's happening. And you can see those flows came in, that blue line, flows came in, the red line bounces back up to where that flood pool top elevation is. And then we got another storm. So they dug another little tiny hole, trying to manage to make sure that they're trying to equate, okay, how much room do we need? Because we don't want to release too much water, but we also want to make sure we're not holding too much back. So you can see how this is actually functioning. And this is, I apologize, I don't remember what the date of this document or this image is, but it's like last week sometime. Anyway, you can see now we're well above. As we get closer to April, they're starting to fill the reservoir again. We're getting out of the flood season. Even though we got a massive snowpack up above, the Bureau and the partners are recognizing that, hey, we're in good stead. We've got space to be able to handle the waters and the flows coming in. But the anticipated flows coming throughout the year are going to be probably 3 times what they would normally be in a September timeline. We still might see 3,000 cubic feet per second going down the river when we're usually less than 1,000. So it's a considerable amount of rain and water that's being held. But again, a lot of activity, a lot of protection, a lot of influence from others, a lot of effort on the federal government side, a lot of money. We're starting to see some results here. It's looking promising. So going forward, we know that these storm events are changing. So this top graph, I really apologize for you not having a bigger view of this. So the top one is the historic data. The dots are when we would see flows. So the bigger dot that you see to the right is something that you would see like in the April, May time, we would see lots of flow coming down the American River, coming into the system. So that's where we're really trying to figure out what we're protecting and when. As we project down and we go to that middle mid-century forecast, you start to see that those big dots are moving to the left. They're moving earlier in the year. What that's telling us is that with the warming, of course, we're going to see flows earlier. We're going to see less snow. It's going to be higher levels of snow up the range, but that means that we have to protect for flows earlier in the season, probably longer durations of those flows potentially, but they're not going to be held into the spring. So that means we have to try and manage the aquifer, and we have to try and manage the reservoir. We have to try and manage flow so that we're not pushing water out the bay instead of holding it back. So these are all things that are coming into play. But again, as we get beyond 2070 into the end of the century, forecasts are that a lot of that water is going to come down. It's not going to be snow. It's going to come down early in the year. So we're trying to manage the facilities that we're stuck with as best we can, but we're looking to see what we can do to protect against those future changes as well. Bottom graph is just some speculation on the forecast and what these arc storms and other things might bring. Arc Storm 2.0 is a program and a thesis that's been created. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. These projections are just some alternate curves that you might see. A 500-year may become a 200-year, just may become more frequent as far as storm events are concerned. So we're trying to make sure we're just dealing with more robust, much more flexible systems that we can protect the community. Those big issues. So as we go into the bottom right, it's just showing that the water isn't going to be held later into the year. It's going to be coming down earlier. So our major components, planning, like I was talking earlier, planning to improve the system to handle 500-year event is a surrogate to us just saying, listen, we need to build capacity and capability to handle these big events. We haven't seen a 500-year event, but a 500-year becoming a 200-year, those dynamics, this changing of the rules about how much water we're going to see, we just need to make sure we keep an eye on the ball. We're going to stick at the 500-year mark. We're going to keep marching towards that and continue with our efforts to keep these systems improvements going. So the major components, again, we put together a plan in 2017. These components, again, protect the American River Channel. We've got to get those flows up to 160,000. So we need to also widen the weir and bypasses. Talked about that already. And we need to arrange for flood storage in the upper watershed. So that's not something we've talked about yet. So as we get above Folsom, we look at the different reservoirs above. These are not reservoirs that are part of our normal system in the sense that we have any function or operation over them. They're private. We are in discussions with these different entities, so it's hard to see, but Union Valley, Hellhole, and why can't I think of? Completely lost it. My apologies. I think of a certain.
Yeah, the lake or.
River Canal, the Hellhole, and
Oh my goodness.
Oxbow.
Oxbow.
French Meadows.
French Meadows, thank you. I don't know. It's been too late in the day, I guess. So we're having conversations about increasing different operations similar to what we're talking about with Folsom, making changes to the Folsom operation that includes some modifications potentially to how those operations of those three reservoirs occur, whether there's new dams or gateworks or anything above needing to be done. We're working with those partners to study that, and also they would need to have different, operational changes that would allow them to release or hold, depending on what the situation is based on forecast informed systems. So ultimately, this is our next phase. This, along with the existing improvements and maybe some additional work down in the yellow bypass to maybe keep the flows going. But for the most part, this is safe as flood there. Ultimately, we're working well, working hard. Hopefully, we can get these things closed out. Corps of Engineers sometimes takes a little bit longer than we'd like to see, but again, they've been great partners, and the state and our other partners, we're all working in stride. So I don't know if you have any other questions.
Thank you, Jason. That was very thorough. I have actually had saved this. I guess Sac County Supervisor Patrick Kennedy is chair of your board.
He is.
Yeah, and so I had printed this out a couple months ago to go over, but you answered everything on here about SAPCA. So do any of the commissioners have questions for Jason? Yes.
I might have about 10 or 15.
Oh, here we go.
As a base point, though, I have to say I live about a half a mile from the American River. I was here in 86. I was here in 97. I was on top of the levee looking down and saying, gosh, that's just not very far.
Sleep in your boat.
So you're going to push 160 through there?
Yes.
Same levee height?
Same levee height. Yes.
I'll be looking again and praying at that point too.
Hopefully we don't have to do that. If we get to that level where if you're seeing 160,000 coming down, we have a major event, there's probably a chance that there would likely be at least some limited evacuations and other things. So that's a major event. If we
I may not wait for you to tell me.
Boat sleep in it.
So I'm really interested in a number of things. I talked to you as you came in the door, unfortunately not fair to you, about the levee work going on by Sac State on the north side of the river, or on the east side? I don't know. Yeah, east side. There's a bunch of stumps left there. You are intending to leave those stumps?
Well, I hope it's stumps and not shaded rivery, woody material.
It's about that tall and it looks like it's
So,
real.
Those are likely trees that were removed in
Yeah, they
advance of the project. So of course, we're always anticipating trying to get out in front of the nesting season to make sure that the Corps of Engineers has clear path to move forward.
Exactly. Yeah, you have a window where you have to get rid of the trees because it's Winston hawk. Yeah, we've run into that.
And actually other species as well, but
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. We're trying to, we work with the Corps of Engineers to provide them with the real estate ready for them to proceed. So typically what happens is we're getting them access to the levees or to the real estate where the work is occurring ahead of them to be able to go and do those tree vegetation removal contracts.
And that could be a year or two ahead.
What's
It
that?
could be a year or two ahead. It's just when you get that window to get the trees out.
Yeah, and sometimes unfortunately, we're trying to do it so it's only the season. It's, the following construction season, spring hits and they're hitting those areas. Sometimes we run into some hiccups with schedules or funding, depending on how it really shakes out. Sometimes the real estate gets in the way too. So we have a number of transactions. We're doing almost 100 transactions a year with property owners.
My question actually is cosmetic. So I live on the other side of the river and it looks like a jungle over there. Are you gonna do the same thing on my side? Clearing everything out?
I would have to take a look at a map. It doesn't necessarily, depends on where the erosion projects are landing. So some of those erosion projects will, as you get around Sac State, there's some high velocity areas there. That's why those areas are being selected. So once you get down past the water intake, the cities, there's the water intake.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You get down past it, that curve, those curves through there are where those erosion contracts are primarily.
And that's what I'm speaking of. You showed a picture of an area in Natomas where you had come in and rocked it, I think. And then a couple years later, you showed a picture of the vegetation growing around it. Is that the plan? To revegetate?
Well, the plan is to revegetate those banks, yes. So again, those banks are off of the levee, but again, the concern is that erosion will occur, and there's some discussion about what that is. It's launchable rock, meaning that if there is some erosion that's occurring, rock will hopefully protect the rest of the bank from eroding away, and then ultimately protect the levee from eroding.
You also mentioned the levees in the American River being built closer together to enable the folks upstream that are polluting the river to get rid of their pollutants. My own interpretation. But I know in my area, we have two levees. I mean, we have the river flow area, which to me acts as kind of an initial levee. But then we've got the real levees that are a lot further away and a lot higher. Is that's all part of the plan too, I assume?
So I think you may be describing the bank.
The riverbank, yeah, and then the levee.
And then the levee.
Yeah.
So that's the idea, is the bank where the vegetation will get replanted over the rock and the soil that's placed back in is meant to protect the levee. So that bank and the vegetation and the rock will protect the levee from eroding. So it's the first line of defense during a large event, so that the levee doesn't fail if we have to go to 160.
Yeah.
Or even more potentially if that's the case.
So one of our former members mentioned that the Folsom Reservoir is called a flashy reservoir with our snow, which means, according to him, it goes up really fast because we got a narrow watershed. So with our snow this year, are you expecting Folsom to rip?
Well, I think most people are expecting that flows will increase, of course, with some weather. I don't think it's anything that we can't handle. I'm fairly certain that everybody's feeling pretty comfortable. Yes, there's a lot of water up above, but the way that it's going to come down, it's flashy in the sense that it will take hours for it to show up. Whereas when you talk about the Mississippi and others, they get 5 days warning, hey, it's going to exceed the banks, you need to evacuate. We have hours. So when it comes to Folsom itself, there's lots of space. I believe that everybody that's looking at it is feeling comfortable, as long as we don't get a major atmospheric river with really warm rain all at once.
You guys do such a wonderful job. I'm totally happy with everything you do. I noticed when I was riding the bike, I think over on Sacramento, up by Natomas, there was a lot of there were homes, and a lot of them built right into the toe of the levee. Are those going to be issues when you go to do some work over there?
So on the Thomas, built into the levee on the water side or the land side?
Land side.
You have to understand where that is.
And it's not, it's like west of 5, right on the river.
So there are some homes, none of the ones in the Thomas that I'm aware of that are built into the levee. There are streets and some that are directly adjacent to it. But I'm not certain of any areas where they're built into it.
I may not know what I'm talking about either.
It's okay.
That's all
it.
from me. Thank you very much. I do appreciate you guys more than I can say.
Thank you
And
very much.
if you screw up the cosmetics.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir. One more question, Jason. You said that the combined cost of all the project elements is about $5.2 billion. But I got the impression that you've only been appropriated a portion of that. Is that the case?
So the 5 point, yeah, there are a few small projects that are remaining primarily in the Thomas, where, for example, originally there was $147 million put into the president's budget. With the changes in the budget bills that came through, that went down to 39 million. So we're seeking a couple of, we're seeking about $100 million in order to make sure that those projects can go forward 2 years from now. So,
But the bulk of the money's already been.
bulk of the money's already been appropriated.
So given that, what's the ultimate time schedule in construction of this project?
So we're using the term substantially complete, so physical construction in the field by 2025, by the end of 2020, I should say. So that's the plan. That's our state mandate as well, to reach 200-year level of production. The theoretical levy certification, well, not theoretical, the levy certification and the theoretical timeline that's associated with it is probably going to run a little bit longer, simply because we have to have operations and management documents from the Corps of Engineers to turn over to FEMA and a process. We're starting that process of certification now. We're getting ready Thursday to award the first contract for that. But that's going to take a little bit of time beyond the 2025 timeline. But ultimately, the intent is that the bulk of the work will be done by the end of the week.
Thanks for, incredible presentation. I saw the 80,000 CFS flows that went down. Did that damage any of the current work that's going on down in Sac State?
So, yeah, there was some erosion that took place. The contractor, as you know, or may have known, they had just placed some soil over the top of it, and then the flows started coming. So, yeah, they're having to redo that.
And then I'm not sure what Mark was referring to, but there are trees anchored in the river, right? That's to protect the bank. But is that what you're talking about?
No, these are trees that were growing on the levee.
Oh, okay.
And then cut down to 3 feet. Now the trunk is.
Oh, sure.
3 feet above the ground.
Yeah. That seems to help in anchoring those trees in the river.
So there's a number of requirements we have. We're talking about the vegetation that takes place. For the fish, we have to put shaded riverine habitat in, and that includes different types of vegetation, whether it's dead trees or tree stumps or other things to create that shade. Those get anchored in so that they don't become debris. The idea there is that over time, when the vegetation takes over and those decay, ultimately the new vegetation will provide the shade for the fish and other species.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I have a couple comments, questions probably mixed in. Years ago, right after Katrina hit New Orleans, I had the opportunity to meet with a Dutch delegation that came over to look at the damage in New Orleans, and the only other major flood issue in the United States, Sacramento. So we met with them here in Sacramento. And when I asked them, I said, what do you think about flood protection? They said, you'll learn after you drown 50,000 people. I mean, they were not impressed. So this is great, but it's going to get us to about a 200-year event by 2025.
Yes.
And what did New Orleans get hit with? Was it a 200-year?
So those are the issues that we're
Yeah.
obviously going to be chasing. Unfortunately, like I said,
Well, I think we ought to look at this as just a phase one. You know, I think there's more to be done.
we agree. And honestly, when we get done with the work that's currently under construction, we believe that will be over 300 year with the Folsom operations and with the levee work that's being performed, with the weir and the bypass work that's being performed currently, will be over 300 years, our anticipation. So 200 years is a great goal. We have to do that. We have to get there so that we certify the levees. But ultimately, once we get these operations done, we will be in much better stead.
And for Mark, when I was in high school, I lived down in the pocket area. A friend of mine, his house butted right up to the levee. And you can stand on top of the levee and you can look at the water lapping down here and you can look at the roof of his house down there. And he's take a look at that and he's saying, I want to sleep in the boat tonight.
So as a final question, is the word Auburn Dam ever considered?
No comment.
I think it's pretty.
That was the plan.
Well, I have a couple of real quick questions. Is there any security or protection issues that they're doing on Folsom Dam? For instance, for terrorist potential activities? I remember years ago, people were really worried about that. And I'm just curious as to if there's any security protection.
Absolutely. So for example, if we need to take a contractor or if we want to give a tour, we have to get the information and it has to go through Homeland. And it's it's a pretty arduous process for people to get access to the dam. Yeah. It's the whole purpose why the cars didn't drive across it any longer. That's why the Folsom Bridge was constructed, which Safeguard and others helped put that bridge into play. So yeah, it's a high security facility.
Yeah, I've worked for FEMA and I've had security clearances and the answer to that is you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna tell you.
Sheriff's office is permanently stationed.
I see. Okay, well, great. Thank you. If that's anybody else? Good. Well, Jason, again, thank you so much for the presentation. It was obviously we're all very interested. It affects us deeply. So, and before we go on to the next talk, now that we have all the commissioners here, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Sacramento Environmental Commission, and we'll take the call.
Laura Nickerson,
Here.
Stephanie Holstich,
Here.
Christine Casey,
Here.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi,
Here.
Richard Hunn,
Here.
Tom Molson,
Here,
Eric Rivero Montez,
Here.
Mark White.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And I would like Eric to go ahead and introduce himself for the recording and for the speakers.
Eric Montez. I'm a representative for the city of Oak Grove, currently working at SMUD, focusing on climate change and greenhouse gas reporting.
Thank you. Christine?
Christine Casey, representative for the County of Sacramento, and my day job is with the California Legislature Transportation Committee.
Thank you. And Steph.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Holstich. I'm a senior environmental scientist with the State Water Board. I work on the Salt and Sea project.
Okay. And before we go on to the next speaker, I know he's waiting in the wings there. We just have to open up for public comment. And if there's any public comment, they have 3 minutes to comment on each separate item. Is there any public comment? Or members of the public that would like to comment? Okay. I'll take that as a no. So our next speaker then will be the groundwater supply and management by Trevor Joseph, who is the manager of technical services, Regional Water Authority and Sacramento Groundwater Authority. And I believe he is on Zoom up there. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. What an interesting prior speaker, and boy, do we look at water differently. But how, what an interesting and important job that he just laid out. I thought that was really good. So, well, thank you. And can I share my screen or should I turn it over to somebody there?
You can share, Trevor.
Okay. Give me 1 minute. Let me see if I can get this working. All right. Did that show up okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, thank you. Again, my name is Trevor Joseph. I work for the Regional Water Authority, but also the Sacramento Groundwater Authority, a sister organization. I kind of split my time between those two organizations here in the greater Sacramento area. And I'm the manager of technical services for both those organizations. Today, I really wanted to cover kind of three things with this group. One is just a little bit of California Groundwater 101. Talk a little bit about it really from the standpoint of groundwater recharge and the importance of recharge, especially after multiple years of drought, as we've seen kind of the effects of drought on our water supply. I want to touch on the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. Hopefully folks have heard of that act. It's a few years now, so it's nothing new, but I do want to talk a little bit about that and how we are addressing the requirements of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act and the kind of the importance of that, groundbreaking legislation and requirements for the state. And then I'll finally talk a little bit about the Sacramento Regional Groundwater Bank. And so this is a project that we're really proud of. We're working through. It's really a new way of kind of operating our existing systems to maximize and increase the available water supply or yield in the region. So let me, I'm going to change my view. I apologize. I want to be able to see you folks a little bit better. Right now you're on a postage stamp size image. All right. So those are the three things to talk about today. Well, first, introductions. Again, I work for the Regional Water Authority and Sacramento Groundwater Authority. We are on the Regional Water Authority side. We represent 26 different public agencies and some private water companies in the greater Sacramento region, including the city of Yuba City, Nevada Irrigation District, EID, El Dorado Irrigation District, I should say, Placer County Water Agency, some of those bigger shapes you see up there in the foothills, to all the agencies in the greater Sacramento area, city of Sacramento County, and many, many others. And so we do advocacy, we do technical work, strategic water planning, and represent their water supply interests. So California 101, and again, kind of a great opportunity to follow such a good speaker and kind of juxtapose looking at water supply now as opposed to flood, obviously. But the importance is always to really kind of make sure folks understand the difference between surface water and groundwater. And I know there's some obvious differences people recognize, but the science of groundwater is kind of really, frankly, can be complicated because it's not flowing in known and defined channels like surface water. It doesn't make that surface water is easy, but groundwater is really your extrapolating between data points and trying to understand the system beneath your feet. Groundwater exists and is captured obviously from wells, whether it's agricultural wells, municipal wells, domestic wells, or wells for other purposes, and it's recharged largely by percolation through obviously rain and mountain front snow and melt coming through rivers. But it also can be recharged artificially, and I'll talk more about what that means. And for the sake of groundwater, we're really talking about the alluvial sediments, the Central Valley, those areas that capture large volumes of groundwater. There's some groundwater in the foothills, but it really exists only between bedrock, between very, very little amounts of groundwater in comparison to the Central Valley and other large basins throughout the state. I always like for folks that really aren't familiar with groundwater, when you dig at the beach in some dry sand and you dig deep enough, all of a sudden it's wet sand and it fills. I mean, that's groundwater. It's just the water that exists between the grains of sands and cobbles, and groundwater also exists in clay. So what you see here is our surface water system on the left. And again, I apologize. It's really hard to see at this scale, I'm sure. And then the groundwater system, if you will, which is really the 517, I think they may be up to 518 groundwater basins or sub-basins throughout the state. So on the left, you have the major conveyance infrastructure shown as lines. Folks are familiar, I think, with the State Water Project and the Central Valley Project, shown in different colors. The federal projects, the CVP project that was established at the early part of the last century, are in the 20s and 30s, is in yellow, and those reservoirs are in yellow. Of course, Shasta being one of the biggest ones, Folsom that we just talked about here in our region. The State Water Project, the biggest facility, of course, is Oroville here, shown in the purple, and then obviously the State Water Project conveyance pipeline. Also important here is the other conveyance that comes into Southern California, namely either the system, the Owens Valley system, and also water that comes in from the Colorado River. With groundwater, as I mentioned, exists kind of in this trough of sediments. Again, the Central Valley is this really huge trough that's been broken into many different subbasins, but really kind of is really connected in terms of the flow of water. And then all these other blue areas are also groundwater basins throughout the state. And again, the non-blue areas are those more hard rock geology, obviously the Sierra Nevada's coastal range, where not really any meaningful amounts of groundwater exists. Amazingly, all these tiny little basins out here in the desert area, the Mojave, they are technically groundwater basins and have groundwater, but really there's no almost use of groundwater in those areas. So when we look at surface water, and I'm a groundwater person, so I'm always comparing groundwater favorably against surface water. Surface water, all of the major surface water systems in California, and this is borrowed from the Department of Water Resources. I used to work there years ago. But when you add up the capacity of those major surface water reservoirs in the state, it's about 50 million acre feet. And of course, the prior speaker spoke in basketballs, 1 cubic foot. With water supply, it's in acre feet, as you might be familiar with, which is really a area of a football field flooded 1 foot deep. So that's an acre foot of water, 1 acre feet. So all the reservoirs can hold about 50 million acre feet. When you look at all those 517 groundwater basins I just showed you, they can hold, it's an estimate, but between 850 million to 1.3 billion acre feet. So there's a lot of capacity in existing groundwater in the state of California. Now, that could be a little misleading, obviously, because not all of that is fresh water or water that we can use for agricultural or other beneficial uses. But the fact does exist that there's certainly more groundwater throughout the state than our ability to capture surface water. Some additional diagrams, again, borrowed from the Department of Water Resources. Some of these are getting a little old, I apologize, but they still kind of stress, frankly, current conditions. The map on the left is from the California Water Plan a few years back, and it just shows the relevance of groundwater and surface water throughout the hydrologic regions throughout the state. So how this bar chart works is the darker blue is the amount of groundwater, and the lighter blue is the total amount of water used. So you can kind of just see relatively how much groundwater is used in comparison to surface water, that being the other portion of the bar from that groundwater, top of the groundwater peak to the top. And so, in the Tulare Lake and the San Joaquin River, groundwater is, about half, a little less in the San Joaquin, a little more in the Tulare Lake of the total supply of those regions. In the Sacramento River hydrologic region, groundwater is maybe about a third, maybe a little less on average. And of course, this area is fairly water rich in comparison to the southern portion of the Central Valley. What's really interesting here, I think, is just the importance that groundwater plays, for example, in the Central Coast. They do have some surface water supplies that come over from some conveyance systems, but they're heavily dependent on groundwater in those regions. Another important fact for groundwater is 85% of the water use, total water use in the state, is for agricultural purposes. So you can obviously tell with the size of these bars that ag plays a huge role in these areas in terms of using the state supply. And then it kind of flip-flops, but groundwater represents about 40% of the supply during normal years, and then about 60% in drought years. Groundwater makes up that state's water supply. So, very important portion of our water supply. On the right, these are, we call them dot maps. Well, they are dots, and it is a map, but this shows the relative trends in terms of the water table. So when you're pumping groundwater, and if you're pumping more than is naturally or artificially recharged, the water table, the groundwater table literally underground, the depth at which you drill and encounter groundwater actually declines and continues to decline and creates a lot of negative effects and impacts, as I'm sure you're well aware of, with land subsidence and other issues. And this map depicts between 1998 and 2018. Again, I apologize, it's a little older period, but it does capture obviously the prior drought of 2014-15. And the yellow is essentially a no significant trend. So if you see some yellows here, it means that during that 20-year period, water levels were generally stable over that period. The orange is a decreasing, and then red, of course, always being bad, right? Red is a greater decrease in water levels. And this is showing it in more than 2.5 feet per year. So that's pretty significant. And that's more than 2.5 feet. In many areas, I know it was much more than that per year. So that's a significant downward trend. And obviously, if there's domestic users of water that have shorter straws, as we like to say, in the glass of in the basin, their ability to capture water can be greatly decreased. I do want to point out in our Sacramento area, we do have some orange, so some slightly decreasing, but we do also have some green, which is slightly increasing. And I'm going to touch on that here in a few minutes and what made that, we feel, possible. With all this negative declines, how were some areas able to either stay neutral or increase in water levels during this 20-year period. So I'm going to switch over to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. And I can see you folks, but just by a display of hands, how many folks have heard of SGMA or feel they know a fair amount about SGMA? All right, fairly quite a few. So I'm not going to go through all the detail. I actually worked on the regulations, not the law, but I was the first employee hired at the Department of Water Resources to help grow the group. And my responsibility for about a 3-4 year period until I left was to get the regulations in place and some of the early implementation activities going. So, SGMA, really the key here is that local agencies are encouraged to manage groundwater. And if they can't, then the state board can enforce the management of groundwater or take over the management of groundwater. And then the Department of Water Resources, so not the state board would be the one enforcing a potential management of water, but only after the Department of Water Resources, the department I used to work for, makes a determination of whether local agencies essentially have come together and have developed a groundwater sustainability plan that adequately will either maintain or achieve sustainability over a 20-year period. And then, all those 517 groundwater basins I showed you on the prior slide, only 107.8 of those are required to adhere to SGMA. And so those are in orange and yellow. All those basins, or for the most part, all those basins in the desert area, they are not required to adhere to SGMA. And for, I think, logical reasons, there's nobody out there. For the most part, their water use is pretty minor. The population's minor. SGMA is an expensive endeavor. And so no reason, unless conditions change to force agencies that don't have the funding to address SGMA. And the 107 basins that had to adhere to it do make up, I want to say it was north of 95% of the groundwater use in the state. And so even though it's a small percent in terms of the total basins, it is the large percent or the vast majority of the groundwater use. And it's real hard to see here, but a lot of the basins kind of shown in this other color that doesn't show up, I apologize very well. Well, those are adjudicated basins in Southern California. Many of you probably are familiar with that as well, but those basins have already gone through a process where the court defines really how much those agencies and other interests can pump, often through a long multiple decade long process to establish that allocation of pumping, essentially what it is for those areas. So Sigma is meant to try to mitigate against that condition. And if the local agencies can kind of agree on how to manage groundwater on a basin level, then it avoids maybe that kind of lengthy outcome. So Sigma, really how sustainability is defined is through these what are called sustainability indicators here: chronic lowering of groundwater levels, reduction of storage, water quality degradation, land subsidence, depletions of interconnected streams, and seawater intrusion. And these have been coined the 6 deadly sins of Sigma. And so if you are having significant and unreasonable levels of negative effects, is what's stated in the law, or impacts is what more commonly referred to as it relates to these, then you are not sustainable. And you need either correct those, or if you can't correct those, the state board may step in. For the North American Subbasin, and that's the acronym here, the basin that I manage just north of the American River, all the way up to the Bear River, and I'll show a map here in a minute. There's no seawater intrusion. So we're left with 5 deadly sins, as every basin throughout those 107 have to address and really avoid these. And again, that's the metric in terms of how sustainability is defined. And I repeat myself, but that's really important. So it's not just some sort of mathematical exercise of a water budget or a balance for the basin, although that's important, but this really gets at site-specific impacts and really trying to ensure that these beneficial users of groundwater shown here, that their considerations are being met to the extent possible in managing groundwater. So obviously agricultural, municipal, domestic users, the environment normally found in groundwater dependent ecosystems, plants and aquatic life that has to have a groundwater table that's high enough that interacts and maintains that plant life. And then surface water depletion can also have an environmental impact, but this is the situation where groundwater pumping is where there's interconnected surface water and groundwater, where you're actually pumping groundwater that is drawing water from surface water features and is either causing negative effects to the environment or potentially affecting downstream users of that surface water. And so that obviously those downstream users do not want agencies to pump all their groundwater and left with less surface water that they may have right to. So those are the beneficial uses and users that need to be considered. Ironically, just real quick on surface groundwater interaction, that the San Joaquin Valley, the area that obviously was in red, that you've seen such significant groundwater level declines, they've actually separated the surface water, and the groundwater levels are so low that those systems are not interconnected. And it's kind of a shame, obviously, when you're driving through some of those areas and you drive across the Fresno River or the whatever, I don't mean to signal an area out, and you look and it's just this, there's nothing there. And that's because those systems over the years have been disconnected. Periodically water obviously flows through some of those rivers and creeks, but as a whole, they're disconnected systems. I won't go into the details of a groundwater sustainability plan in too much detail, because again, I think many of folks here probably have participated in the development or worked through that process with different groundwater sustainability agencies. But again, those 6 deadly sins of Sigma, determining what levels and how that's going to be managed is really important, getting that right in those plans. So I'm just going to share with you a little bit, because I'm when I'm wearing my Sacramento Groundwater Authority hat, I'm managing this groundwater basin, sub-basin, with 4 other groundwater sustainability agencies. So again, I work for the Sacramento Groundwater Authority, this green area, but working with these 4 other GSAs, we're managing, and we're the lead agency, if you will, with DWR. We're all collective, the same in terms of hierarchy, but we're helping administer this on behalf of these agencies. And again, this is bound by the Bear River, the Feather River on the western side, the Sacramento River, and of course the American River. And this contact here on the east is where essentially where the foothill hills, the granitic rock and other hard rock meets the basin, the groundwater basin. I wanted to just again display how that chronic lowering of groundwater levels, that sustainability indicator, that one deadly sin of sigma, how important that is. So in the regulations, what's required is that agencies define at different locations. These yellow dots are monitoring wells. We have 41 monitoring wells throughout the entire basin. And those monitoring wells, we've set, as required by the regulations, essentially what are called minimum thresholds. This red line and a green line is measurable objectives. That's where we want to have water levels. But the goal is to not let water levels go below that red line. So this is a hydrograph, water level trend over time. This cyclical pattern here is simply spring, fall, spring, fall, spring, fall. That's normal with recharge. That's a normal pattern. Unfortunately, what's not a good sign is this declining trend. And we're seeing this declining trend only in a couple of spots. But in the couple of spots after 3 years of drought, we've turned these wells red, if you will, because they are exceeding the minimum threshold. And that minimum threshold, again, is important because that is a level that we felt, we feel that this level is necessary to maintain, whether it's groundwater dependent ecosystems or domestic users or others. Luckily, we have not seen any impacts. So we may or may not have that level right, but it's something we've been watching really closely because, again, after 3 years of drought, even a basin that we feel has been fairly stable in terms of water levels, we're seeing a couple of problems. Now, this does not create an unsustainable condition in Sigma. We are not going to the state board because we have a couple of wells where we have minimum threshold exceedances. But again, it's something we've been keeping our eye on. And now we're so thankful with this wetter hydrology, we've gone out there, raced out there, collected some additional data, and these wells are no longer red, meaning this water table has come back up above this line. And I think it's going to come up pretty significantly, again, with all the natural recharge that we should receive this year because of such a great rain season. A couple other techie images, and then I'll move on to the next topic. This shows the same basin, obviously. The darker blue is the areas where we have more significant groundwater pumping. The lighter blue is less groundwater pumping, or maybe not even any groundwater pumping. That doesn't mean that water is not served to those areas, but it's largely surface water that is fed to those lighter areas. And this basin is a mix of about a third urban and about 2/3 agriculture. And of course, the urban, as you're familiar with, the greater Sacramento area, the Roseville, Lincoln area, those are obviously the major urban centers. But we do have a lot of ag, some ag in the Sacramento County portion down here, but not that much ag in comparison. And so just kind of interesting to see where those patterns are. Again, some heavy ag in the Sutter, Placer area. And so that's very logical. You would see more groundwater pumping there, and they don't have some surface water deliveries, at least in some of these areas, I guess. This is change in storage from 1 year to the next. So from 2021 to 2022. So this means that we've seen not necessarily the water table drop, but in some cases we have, because I showed you some red dots that showed that water levels have dropped in this vicinity. So this correlates, this red, with those water level declines. But this is a change in storage, meaning that we saw more pumping, if you will, than last year in these areas. And so red again, it's greater than 20 acre feet. Not in this whole area, but kind of by the very small shapes here. You know, the Sacramento suburban, some of these districts did pump a little more groundwater than they did the prior year. So that seems very logical. This concerns me because this is the Sheridan area and they already have some water level declines. But we've also seen water levels come up or a positive change in storage in some areas. So it's in general, it's equates to this graphic, which is the change in storage from year by year. So after 3 years of drought, we actually went, and again, that map, you saw some red, you saw some blue, but on average, essentially it was zero. We saw a zero change in storage last year, which is amazing after 3 years of drought. Now, this is looking at the entire basin. I was showing you in certain areas, there was a negative change in storage, and other areas is a positive. But this is really an amazing statistic here. And again, it's a function of, frankly, we have some pretty good surface water features in our region that help with a lot of recharge. And we actually didn't use as much water last year as we did the year before, I think is the reason we're seeing that. We are seeing this gray line is the change in storage, the cumulative change in storage. So now I'm looking at the y-axis over here. Since 2008, we've seen just over 200,000 acre feet of a positive change in storage in that whole entire basin. That's pretty amazing. Again, a function of a lot of surface water features that are recharging the basin. You know, not to take light of the prior speaker, as long as the flood events don't cause any damage, you know, we get to benefit from some of that recharge that occurs. And again, that dot map I showed you previously, this kind of correlates with that. We're seeing a positive change in storage. We're seeing in many areas of our basin, water levels come up. So I'm going to dive into the regional water bank real quick. So this is a project that 19 agencies in the greater Sacramento area are contributing and have hired the Regional Water Authority to develop. And essentially, it's a little complicated, but it's operating more conjunctive use, more switching between or shifting between taking surface water in years where there's more plentiful surface water, and then shifting to groundwater in years where there's drier conditions and leaving precious surface water in our rivers and streams. And so it's a shift in terms of maybe their prior or baseline operations. The process here is just laid out, but very simply, we have a lot of different activities to complete to develop the water bank, and we're hoping to do so in the late 2024, early 2025 timeframe. You saw this slide before, what the water bank, how it generates water literally underground, as it uses, oh, sorry, I thought there was some animation. It really utilizes two artificial recharge methods. So I mentioned there's natural recharge, streams and creeks, mountain front recharge, where it's literally coming down the mountains and hits that alluvial contact and recharges, and then there's rain causing percolation. Those are the three main sources of natural recharge. With artificial recharge, there's injection wells, aquifer storage and recovery, which is something that city of Roseville, and also the city of not Davis, why can't I think? Woodland does aquifer storage and recovery. I used to work for the city of Roseville and help get their system established. There's percolation ponds, where you're literally diverting water from streams and creeks and creating recharge ponds and letting the water percolate into the groundwater system. And then there's in lieu, and that's what I described previously, or conjunctive use, and that is shifting and utilizing more surface water when it's plentiful, letting the groundwater table naturally recharge, and then shifting to groundwater when surface water is more scarce, and then you're drawing that groundwater table back down. So you're doing in lieu recharge. This was information by the state of California, but also the Public Policy Institute of California, Public Policy Institute of California, or California, I believe, put together this graphic here. Sorry, there's no units, but identified the amount of water available for recharge throughout the state of California. Again, showing 3 of the hydrologic regions. And again, mainly due to the surface water features, estimated that there's more than 4.2 million acre feet of water that could potentially be used for recharge. Water that may flow out of the Golden Gate and be lost without use. Now, there's a lot of devil in the details here in terms of making sure there's adequate supply for the Delta. And I don't have all the data to kind of show specifically how those needs are met. But the point being that there is opportunity to recharge our basins and utilize surface water that could be lost or is lost. Another way to look at it more simply for the Sacramento region, again, this is kind of a blurry depiction or map, but the Sacramento region is really, we consider ourselves dependent on three storage reservoirs. I'm not explaining this well, or three types of water supply, if you will. There's the snowpack, obviously, which is this, especially this year, this mass amount of water, and always hoping for kind of a slow release. There's the aforementioned groundwater basin, which is pretty vast and has a lot of water. And then our surface water reservoir, which is tiny. You can see it here, or barely, maybe you can't see it here, but Folsom Reservoir, and I've heard the mention of a flashy reservoir. I think somebody in the audience mentioned for the prior speaker. Yes, for the size of this watershed from a water supply standpoint, and of course it was designed predominantly for flood control purposes, water supply second, it is a very, very small reservoir. Does not hold a lot of supply for the purposes of meeting water resources needs. There was mention of some other smaller reservoirs in the Sierras. So Folsom's not alone, but still it's a very small reservoir for our area. So again, I keep emphasizing how the water bank works. It's conjunctive use. So we're looking to shift from agencies in the Sacramento region that maybe would be using groundwater, even when there's plenty of surface water, finding a way for them to obtain excess surface water or flood flows when it's plentiful, and letting that groundwater basin, the water table, naturally recharge or banking water. So it's really changing their operations through making design changes either to their infrastructure or adding infrastructure so they can take surface water when it's plentiful. And again, it's the inverse. There are agencies that are maybe solely surface water agencies, and if surface water is limited, trying to shift those agencies to groundwater use, or agencies that have both capabilities, again, shifting their use. I'll explain how much water we think this can make here in I think it's the slide after this. Conjunctive use has been very successful in the North American subbasin, and portion of the South American as well. And how that's been successful is we had very declining groundwater levels, very declining groundwater levels, not unlike what is being experienced still in the San Joaquin Valley for decades. The decline was heaviest and still is, left a cone of depression in the northern Sacramento County area, kind of in the North Highlands, McClellan area of the Sacramento Groundwater Authority area. Then a surface water pipeline was brought in the mid-90s. And that's a form of conjunctive use. Again, that surface water pipeline bringing water into the middle of the basin enabled agencies to get off of groundwater, reducing this negative decline. And since then, the basin, and this is only one well, but it's indicative of a lot of wells kind of in the central area of the Sacramento Groundwater Authority, we've seen stable and even slightly increasing groundwater level trends. So conjunctive use is a proven method for not only maintaining a sustainable condition in terms of water levels, but also banking of water. So one or two more slides here. This is the depiction of how much water we can make available through the water bank. Again, simply by shifting our source of water to those agencies. So in wet conditions, currently, and this is the period 2011 through 2013, kind of a good wet period that we used. We found that our agencies were using 69% surface water and 31% groundwater during a wet period, or during that wet period. We can, with even existing infrastructure, so without even adding infrastructure, but with just operating differently, we can get that up to 86% surface water use, reducing the groundwater use more than half. And again, if you reduce that groundwater use more than half, that groundwater table will go up. Again, that's how it's a bank. It banks water. So that's mainly through in lieu, that method of shifting operations with a little bit of aquifer storage and recovery. Some of the agencies are utilizing that technology of direct injecting excess surface water. And then the flip side, in dry conditions, we found that currently during 2015, which was the end of the last year of the drought, the prior drought, that groundwater was used, surface water was used 64% of the time. We think we could reduce that surface water use, draw on those groundwater supplies that have been banked, and reduce that surface water use by 22%. And again, that keeps kind of precious surface water in the American predominantly, but other streams and creeks during drought conditions. And then we did some analysis, and with some investments, $300 million, which is no small chunk of change, but we actually think that we could increase. What this analysis suggested during wet conditions, that 63,000 acre feet of water could be made available during those wet years each year of additional supply, just simply by shifting. And then in dry years, 57,000 acre feet could be made available. With some investments, we think we can get that closer to, we call it 90-90, but 94,000 acre feet of water with some additional infrastructure investments. So I know that was a lot. I want to thank you, and hopefully I didn't go too long. I don't know if there's time for any questions or comments.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you so much, Trevor, for that important information. So do any of the commissioners have any questions for Trevor? I have one. When you talk about the in lieu strategy, which wouldn't require any more infrastructure, what is stopping that from happening on a larger basis? Like what are the blocks you're running into?
Yeah, it's existing infrastructure to get those volumes. In some cases, it's the operators just not familiar. If they're used to operating surface water facilities or conversely groundwater facilities, there's a learning curve in terms of making that transition. There are aesthetic challenges with groundwater, especially in urban environments. If you've gotten a lot of surface water, and groundwater has, although it meets all health standards in terms of water quality standards, there is always a kind of a public relations and community concern in some areas, and aesthetic difference with groundwater. Groundwater has more total suspended solids, or total dissolved solids, I should say. So that is always a little bit of a challenge. And then the big one, though, is financial incentives. So, in many cases, groundwater is cheaper than surface water, or conversely in some instances. And so getting agencies to switch over to a different source of supply can come at a cost. It often does come at a financial cost.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Well, I'll follow on with a question of my own on that same general topic. How about treatment? A lot of times with groundwater, you don't have to treat it. You just pump it out, maybe run it through some filters and distribute it. With surface water, you can't always do that. So
Yeah,
that
that's-
would also be an infrastructure cost.
Benefit.
Well, yeah, and a learning curve. You can't just switch over. You've got a treatment issue too.
Very much. That's a really good point. And then in some instances, the agency's distribution systems are set up, to take water one way. Systems are gravity fed, and then to introduce wells or interties with other agencies, that changes the flow. And that can be a challenge. I said with existing infrastructure. And so in some instances, there would need booster pumps or additional development of different pressure zones to able to move that water around differently from a different source. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Question on
Yeah,
the
Christine.
well monitoring. You had a graph that showed like the upper limit and the lower limit that you were looking for. Is that set by the state or by the region?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. No, that's part of the local control of Sigma. This is a set by the region. So the agencies with public input set these levels, and it's a different level at every well. And I'm just going to use an example of that because I don't have the exact water levels where it's set in these other wells. But if it's an ag or urban area, maybe the water table could be lower, that red line, because their wells are fairly deep in comparison, and a lower level, they still have the opportunity to obtain groundwater. Or other areas like some of these along the rivers or where there's groundwater dependent ecosystems, that water table needs to be pretty close to the Earth's surface, so that those oaks or other habitat can draw water and not be dewatered. So it's very site specific. It's based on the local agency's knowledge, because the state doesn't have the knowledge, nor does Sigma allow the state to set those on the agency's behalf.
And then the other data that you showed about the increase and decrease, do you have more data points than the 41 wells, or is that just like some estimations surrounding those wells to give you that full picture?
Yeah, I'm sorry, are you referring to this slide here?
No, the next one where you have the colors.
Yes.
Of the increase and decrease, is that just extrapolated from the 41 wells, or is there more data?
No, good question. This is actually, I apologize. I didn't mention really the source of these two maps. So this is based on a groundwater model, which of course is based on empirical data from wells. We do have more than 41 wells and information that goes in that groundwater model, but this also takes into account, obviously, land use. So land use is plugged into that model. The evaporation of plants, the evapotranspiration of plants, and the model understands the surface water flows to these different parcels, and then estimates the groundwater use, because we don't really have, with the exception of urban areas, we actually don't have metered data from ag. Most of the state does not have metered data from ag. So we're with a lot of accuracy, because we know parcel by parcel. It's pretty amazing the exact agricultural type. And so we know how much water it takes to sustain that crop. And then we know exactly how much surface water they get by surface water rights. And we can kind of back in to the amount of groundwater used on each parcel.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And thank you very much for the presentation too. It was really, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Trevor, very much. Appreciate you coming.
Yeah, appreciate it.
I have one other
Oh,
question.
okay.
I got a kick out of this one too. What are your feelings about deep well injection for recharge from wastewater treatment plants?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't really have.
Well, it's being done. SoCal Water District just got their plant online.
Yeah,
And that's because of the saltwater intrusion.
right. So yeah, and I have limited understanding, to be honest. So please consider that. But the wastewater. So depending on the treatment, like Orange County and Los Angeles County, famously have like 400 wells up and down the coast barrier wells where they're injecting to keep saline water intrusion at bay. But Orange County, it's a reverse osmosis system. It's incredibly expensive, and they are able to, it's $1 billion of a system. It's very impressive. If you've ever, they have great tours, and they take the public. If you ever get a chance, I strongly encourage you, but if you haven't already, but they treat water so clean that they actually have to induce salts back into it. Otherwise, it'll just tear up their pipe because it's deionized water. But they also have the ability then to take the brine solution. I can't remember how much that is, if it's like 10 or 20% of the volume that they treat. Don't quote me on that. And then discharge that brine because, of course, they're injecting or they're sending to a spreading basin, a surface water recharge facility, that clean or pure water. And so that's tricky in areas. It has been looked at in the Central Valley, but what do you do with the waste stream? What do you do with the brine solution? They've talked about deep aquifer injection, but until they kind of sort that out in the cost, I think it's a very challenging, very interesting, technology, but challenging to implement in interior areas of California.
Well, like I tell people though, what do you think they've been drinking on the International Space Station for the last 20 years?
Right. Right.
But it's expensive.
Yeah. Orange County, just real quick, they have 3 taps there. Well, they have the tap after it's gone through reverse osmosis, and you have a Dixie cup and you can drink it. And I asked, how long ago was this flushed down somebody's toilet? 46 minutes ago. 46 minutes ago, that water was wastewater, and now I'm sipping it out of a Dixie cup. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Trevor, for coming and providing such good information.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, gang. So we have an update from John. I think he's on. John Lundgren, Sustainability Manager. Here he is. Hi, John.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Audio check.
Yep.
All right. Good evening. I'm John Lundgren, County Sustainability Manager. Happy Earth Day week. Saturday, April 22nd will be Earth Day. And so my update for this month is around the county's efforts just to highlight Earth Day, some of the green things we've been doing, and lift up some of the community events happening around town. So tomorrow we expect to put out a media alert to local media, letting them know that on Thursday, the 20th, we'll be at Howe Community Park, delivering a load of compost, locally generated compost that came from our region's table and food scraps that we've been diverting from the landfill. We'll be delivering that compost to the new community garden there that's run by International Rescue Committee. And the purpose of this little event is to highlight the good work that International Rescue Committee's done. Fulton El Camino Recreation and Park District, SMUD helped fund the garden, and just show how we're as a region completing that loop, right? So what was destined in the past to be going to the landfill and turning into methane is now usable compost that's going to be part of our community in a community garden, increasing soil health, and then helping International Rescue Committee with their social, environmental, and racial justice work that they do with our refugee communities. And so we'll also be then following up with internal county communications the same Thursday to all county employees. That's also picked up by the media. And in that communication, we'll be highlighting that waste management and recycling people, Doug Eubanks, will be at the Fair Oaks Horticultural Center on Saturday with Meet a Master Gardener. And we will be there handing out kitchen pails and 4-quart bags of locally generated compost. And then the weekend culminates with the big event of the Ecos Earth Day celebration at Southside Park. Over 130 exhibitors will be there. County of Sacramento is proud to be a sponsor. We'll be there with 8 different county departments, of which your very own environmental management and Janaea and her people will be there as well. And so that's the end of my report. Unless you'd like to hear more, I'm also happy to say that this week we'll be rolling out a 3-stream collection in the county administration building, getting on board with what we need to be doing there as far as collecting organics and mixed recycling in the public administration building. End of report.
All right, great. Thank you, John. Anybody have any questions or comments for John? All right, on to the next agenda item. We're going to look at the February minutes for an approval. Are there any additions or edits to the minutes? Yes.
I have a small one. Joe, what's CEO mean on the slide item, on the eagle item, off to the right? On the right-hand side of the paragraph, almost off the page. Right there by your.
It's, I think it's CEQ. I wonder if it was
I don't know, I'm just confused. And that's easily done.
Yeah, you have a right to be. I have to look at that, and it might just be needing to be deleted, or it could be a sequel. But I'll have to look at that.
The next paragraph down under the eagle, the first one that begins avian protection plan. At the end of the next sentence, it says build a nest instead of a nest.
Build the next nest.
That would be true, wouldn't it? No.
Anything else, Mark?
That's it. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. I would like to add that at the lecture with Mr. Rice with SMUD, I had asked that he provide, if he could, a report of the actual bird injuries and or deaths. And if we could follow up, I'd like that added to the minutes. And then if you could follow up with him, Joe, and see if he can provide that.
Yes.
If he can provide it and he does provide it, just email it to the commissioners. Don't need to go over it. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, can we have a motion?
I'm going to approve.
Second? Thank you.
With the
Call-
changes.
With the changes?
Assume.
Thank you. Okay, let's take roll.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Stephanie Holsted, Christine Casey,
Aye.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi.
Aye.
Richard Hunn.
Aye.
Tom Mulson,
Aye.
Eric Rivero Montez,
Aye.
Mark White.
Aye.
Motion passes with edits.
Thank you. The corrections, thank you. So Janika, we have an EMD Director's report.
Well, John took my thunder, so I'm gonna talk about Earth Day, but I understand. EMD will be participating on Earth Day in Southside Park, so we will have a booth. We encourage all of you to come and check out our booth. We'll have an environmental compliance representative there, an environmental health representative there. And usually we have our incident response truck there as well. Hopefully they'll be there. That usually draws more people over because they like to see the flashy truck and ask questions of what we do, and we tell them all kinds of fun stories. Yeah.
Where will this be at? Where is the physical locality?
At Southside Park.
Oh, Southside Park. Okay.
Yeah, and where we're at, well, you'll find us. You'll find our truck. Yeah, it's a really fun event. I participated and volunteered. There's people come up and they ask all kinds of questions. We usually end up talking a lot about environmental health. That's usually what people want to ask the most about. And yeah, we'll fill anybody in with our programs and questions, stories. So it's a neat event. I'm excited to do that.
Great, thank you.
Is that Saturday or Sunday?
I think it's Sunday.
Okay,
11 to 3.
Saturday,
Earth Day's
Sunday.
on Saturday. I think it's on Sunday though.
It's Sunday, yeah.
Sunday.
Sunday.
23rd. I know it's the 23rd. So
Yeah.
yes, see you there.
11 a.m. to about 3.
I hear the weather's good.
It's on T Street between 6
Yeah.
So I think the camera turned off. People are calling.
I have to control it back on. I kept getting kicked off
Can we
the
keep going?
internet. That's why I had to move.
Can we keep going? Keep going. Okay. So number 10 here, report back on the commissioner monitoring. So the first one I'd like to call on is Christine. I know that you went to the meeting
yes.
and you gave us a beautiful report, but if you could just do a quick summary of the main topics that you thought were the most interesting, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll look at my notes. So this was the Sacramento County Climate Emergency Mobilization Task Force Technical Advisory Pre-Panel. And so this stems from the Board of Supervisors set a goal of carbon neutrality by 2030, and they at the same time established a Climate Emergency Mobilization Task Force. And basically the job of the task force is to advise on how to implement the county's climate action plan, which interestingly has not been finalized yet. So the climate action plan, has some very limited abilities, like it's kind of fiscally constrained, it has to be somewhat reasonable. The emergency task force, they kind of asked us to think beyond what the current actions are to see how we could get to zero by 2030, because they showed, with the current actions that we have going on, we could get to a certain level, and it's definitely not zero. So some of the things, oh, and I will say the technical advisory panel, they have advisory panels for transportation and energy. So this was the energy one. And they will also, this was just the pre-meeting. They're also going to have some environmental justice community listening sessions. But basically the main goals are to decarbonize electricity generation, electrify appliances in homes and businesses, do energy efficiency upgrades, and additional complementary policies like workforce development to help train electricians for work that needs to be done, and some increased permit compliance. So some of the questions are just getting into some details. There was experts there from Energy Commission and somebody from 350. Yeah. And basically some questions were, you know, about rooftop solar, community solar. How do we get, because the appliance upgrade piece is going to be really important, how do we get to those people that are changing their appliances to do that? Because not everyone will always pull a permit. And sometimes people don't have the necessary capacity to upgrade their appliances. It's an emergency. Your dishwasher breaks Thanksgiving and or I don't know, gas dishwashers, but your gas appliance breaks, it's an emergency. If you want to replace it, you just usually go with like what you can get. You don't necessarily think about upgrading your panel and doing all this other stuff. So trying to think through some of those details and how to get the county to zero by 2030. And they're going to share the schedule for the environmental justice community listening sessions, and then also the slides. And I think Timothy had in the chat earlier just had a public comment.
I'm kicked off my internet, so I'm not sure if I
No, it's fine. I saw it pop up. It was just like, thanks, Christine, for coming. And if there was anything else on there, I guess.
Good, here we are.
Oh, I think it was up at the top. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thank you to Christine for attending the pre-meeting for the climate.
Yeah, and so yes, he's the chair. And yeah, they'll keep us in the loop.
Okay.
Any questions? I know somebody was asking about the gas appliance.
Yeah, I was inquiring about if the task force was going to be moving forward with a recommendation to retrofit existing homes.
Yeah, so one of the things was that all new buildings should be electric, all new buildings, and then retrofitting all existing buildings to be electric, because big piece of what needs to be done.
So they are moving forward with a mandatory retrofit or a voluntary retrofit?
I think the retrofit would be at the time of necessary upgrades.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
At the time of sale of the house, or?
No, I think replacement, like when, like they were talking about, do we need to send permits to everyone just like in advance? Like, hey, if you're going to do this, like, here's a permit. But
your gas stove dies and you're going to be required to get replaced with an electric.
Yeah, if you pull a permit, but they say sometimes people, you don't always pull a permit for replacing a basic appliance. So that's some of the questions they are trying to figure out how to.
And what, well, it's probably part of the building codes.
Mm-hmm.
And there are different triggers with building codes. It could be, if it's just a simple replacement, it may not trigger it. If it's a kitchen remodel, it does.
Yeah, and they said there's been a lot of work lately, to your point, on the building codes that are going to help with some of this stuff.
I had a couple questions. First is, I recall in your notes, you hadn't repeated it today, but you did say that SMUD is running out of this, going to hit it by 2030. But you didn't mention PG&E.
Yeah, there was some discussion about SMUD versus G&E, and that was towards hour 2, so I was starting to go a little fuzzy. But even with the SMUD piece, so SMUD does have the target 2030 carbon neutrality. They're like, do we need to make recommendations as an advisory panel or as a task force for SMUD to do something further? Do we think that they will get there? So that was a question. They did talk about PG&E, but I'm not seeing it in my notes. I think just because they're farther outside of the region that we don't have
less jurisdiction over.
What
Yeah.
is the percentage, you know, Eric, of SMUD versus PG&E countywide?
Oh, I don't have the number up. the
Well,
top of my
PG&E
head.
provides gas service.
Yeah,
No, I mean just electric.
I don't know if
Yeah.
PG&E provides any electric.
No, not in the, in this region, but.
In the county.
Not in Sac County?
No.
Oh, okay, that's
I mean,
fine.
Yeah, they did
Makes sense.
mention something about it, but it was probably just that they're like not
within that county.
Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Well, thank you for doing that, Christine.
Yeah.
Very
Thank
helpful.
you.
I know Tim, we're excited that we're having a representative there, so appreciate stepping up to that. The other thing I wanted to bring up real fast is that y'all saw that Galt High School got the purple air monitor,
Yes, we
correct?
did.
And money even toward a second one.
Nice.
So we would like to have updates as they go along, Tom, if they come up with some data or
They actually
Or
have
anything
it
like that.
installed as of today,
very good.
but they haven't connected it to the purple air grid yet because they want to do that at an Interact club meeting, which will occur probably next week, I believe.
Oh, very good. Very good. I'm excited for them.
Yeah,
And
so,
thank you
so
for-
it should be coming online the 27th or so.
Thank you for doing that. Very, very good. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to report on any of the agencies that they are monitoring?
I spent 3 hours in the Consumers Groundwater Authority, excuse me,
Very good.
allergies. Consumers Groundwater Authority meeting this morning.
Nice.
They discussed primarily almost 3 hours worth of budget. But right now, the Consumers Basin is 80% ag, 20% urban residential use for the groundwater. It's all groundwater, there's no surface water. And it butts up to the San Joaquin Basin, which is going south. The Consumers Basin has been going down 1 foot a year, 1 acre foot a year. And the state law says that that has to be neutral by 2040. With the weather events we've had this year, believe it or not, they're showing their groundwater increases up from 1 to 11 feet increase this year, based on what wells you look at, because one of the problems they have is monitoring wells. You can monitor existing wells, or you can actually place wells where it makes sense to place a couple monitoring wells. That brings up issues with getting access because farmers are a hard-headed bunch to deal with. They just being blunt. They don't want to meter their wells. There was a lot of discussion on how to fund the groundwater authority, and that'll be done by I think they have a City of Galt's part of the agency. That's easy. That part's easy. I think it's like 46 cents a month or something on a utility bill. Ag people, though, it's going to be on their property taxes, and it's going to be based on their acreage and their water use. What they're using it for, whether they're using it for crops or domestic animals or whatever they're using it for. So most of the meeting was spent on budget. 3 hours worth. After 2 hours, my eyes glossed over. Yeah, so I know the feeling. They are looking at one of the issues they do. One of the big issues they have is public outreach, primarily to the ag guys and farmers on how they're going to fund it. Where's the money going to? And what's being used for. The other thing that came up was in Southern California, they have a large outfit that has, thousands of units set up on well monitoring for their usage and water depth. And it's like $3,000 initially to set it up on a well, and it's $400 a year to collect the data. So they were also looking at that existing well. So everybody's talking about the same data set, same language, same computer program. That's also been part of the problem. So this is all new, and they've been working it out. It's kind of interesting. I can just
Sounds like a lot.
yeah,
Thank you.
it is. It is.
Thank you, Tom. Due to the length of this meeting, I'm going to table a couple of things I was going to talk about from the county because they can wait until next meeting. And
What happened to the March meeting?
that was canceled.
Canceled.
Yes, it was canceled. So the last thing we want to get into real quickly here is the awards subcommittee update. I'm not sure who's in charge of that committee. I don't think you guys ever decided. It's just a free for all. So whoever wants to give us an update on how that's going.
But Kayla was.
Yeah.
Was Kayla the chair? Oh,
That's
yeah.
You.
She's virtual.
Attending.
There she is. Hi, Kayla.
So can I comment on
Hi.
Kayla's
Yeah.
attendance?
Yes.
Kayla's attending as a member of the public
Yes.
because she's not at a noticed site while she's in college. So she will return in June, Kayla. And then she'll be attending in person and back to a regular.
So because she can't attend in person, she cannot act as a commissioner?
Correct.
So
Unless you said a notice site. Is
So
that
she would have to-
here, the notice site?
She would have to notice her dorm room
Oh,
as a
yeah,
meeting
yeah.
place and allow public access.
When I was on city council and we traveled, and this was back way before COVID and all these emergency rules. You had to notice it, like at a hotel, I had to leave my door open, I had to put a notice on the door. That, you know, anybody could walk in.
No, I see, yeah. So
Yeah.
can Kayla comment on the task force or can she not at this role?
You know, I think it's fine just
Okay.
to, share
Okay.
her information.
Nothing,
right.
any action.
Okay, Kayla, let us know what's been happening with the awards committee.
Sure. I mean, we've updated, to my knowledge, I think the website, so the links are on there. I've taken a look at it and sent it to my old high school. And I'm also looking for another group to send it to still. But yeah, I'm working on right now the grading rubric to update from what it was because it was a little bit ambiguous. The old one, since it's been 2 years. We also, I think we're thinking about updating the groups, and we kind of made a few adjustments to the groups. I don't have them with me, but the categories for the awards we updated for just because things have changed a bit and some of the categories might be a little more relevant. And we also changed a little bit of wording on the actual application. And I think it's been good. It's made it more clear and I think easier and more applicable for groups to apply.
Oh, great. Thank you, Kayla. I'm curious, has anybody contacted the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts? No?
We do have a sign up sheet, so if you kind of keep track of it, but I don't know, right, when I went in there last, it was.
Okay, well, I've done that in the years past. I think I might have the contact still of the head council people that do this.
Jill, have we received any applications?
No.
How many categories are there for awards? Do we know?
I know that we were looking at like a personal, a business, and that.
There was 3.
I want to say 3.
Yeah.
Don't know what they are up there.
So, process, I sent a nomination, I thought that was a break, they have to.
You need to inform
They have
them
to- yes.
so they can apply, but we have a shared document that we created, so if you notify an organization, you can mark them down, so, I mean, the coverage is good, but so we're not bothering the same entities, so you can fill out that person that you nominated, just write them in there and then send them a letter, you can share the link with them, and they would apply.
Yeah, what I did was I notified all the people I report to, city councils for the 3 cities, school district, school boards in those areas, local newspaper.
Yeah, the council,
Yeah.
council members, city and county that we represent,
Newspapers.
So this is online.
Parks and Recs. Yes, you can actually mail it to them, or, if they're old school. A lot of times I have done that with a letter. Some people are just like that better. Or you can just direct them to the links.
There'll be, but they were saying about 140 organizations at the Earth Day, and some of them may.
Oh, sure, yeah, sure.
Print out some application or flyers.
I'm sure, yeah. Good
Maybe you
idea.
could put them in your booth.
John also, John Lundgren mentioned that.
Yeah. Oh, Jill, did you just hear that?
I did.
Yeah, that would be great, and they could hand them out as people are talking. They're gonna say, or we're doing this, or we're doing that, and you could be like, hey.
You think you'll have some?
Yeah, we'll take
Recognize.
some.
Okay, I'll stop by, I'm working at a booth there too, so I'll stop by and get some.
Nice. Is there anything else?
Yes,
Yes,
very quick.
yes.
Thank you for the speakers. They may be 2 of the best speakers we've had in a very long time. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a lot.
My only issue, it's all mine because it's all right here, I couldn't see the chart very well. Is there any chance we could put those on an individual's laptop here? In other words.
Well, this is what I was experiencing. I kept getting kicked off our internet.
Maybe no.
And so I couldn't control a lot of things. I wouldn't recommend bringing a laptop. I was surprised the speaker didn't get kicked off. So that was good.
The only other thing we could do is just print out, like we've had the printouts
I
of their
can do that.
PowerPoints
Mhm.
before.
Yeah.
If it's gonna be this far away, because there were things like missing too.
Really a phenomenal job, and I know you
Yeah.
have trouble sometimes using speakers.
Yeah, thank you.
This all went out of the park twice.
Great. And going forward, I'll print the presentations if I haven't.
If you get them in time.
Not for everybody.
Not for-
us first.
Okay.
My laptop, just
Oh,
have it saved.
okay. Have it saved.
I'll take your experience and ask for a friend, and
Okay.
then I'll share it with these people who couldn't get it online.
Have it saved.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Right. I can bring my laptop too, so that we don't have to use papers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, ladies and gentlemen, we will go ahead and adjourn. Do I put tap this for adjournment?
You can.
The meeting is adjourned. Next meeting is in person on May 15th, right here. And we all know where we're going. I have no trouble.
I did too, and I was already running late from work, so.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Round and round we went.
Second time.
I know.